Well, it's Groundhog Day again, and that must be... No, actually, it's not. It was Groundhog Day yesterday, and today it is time for Waiver Wire Basketball with MFSN The Hub. Welcome to our show. I'm here, as always, with Casey, Vlad to the Bone Scheinbold, and Ross the Boss.
Hey, everybody, I'm Ross the Boss. And I want to talk sports and NBA Waiver Wire with you, cowboy. I did say sports. You know why? Because the Bengals are in the Super Bowl. All the doubters, everybody else throughout the whole year, including you two guys, had your doubts. You said, Ross, they're not going to make the Super Bowl. And what happened? They're in the Super Bowl. So me being the only fan in Los Angeles of the Bengals, I want to say face on you. I want to hear congratulations, Ross, on a well-done job by your Cincinnati Bengals. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, first of all, definitely congratulations on it. But actually, I'm going to go a step further. I never even thought to utter the words, the Bengals will not be in the Super Bowl.
Courtney, do you want to play the tape from September? And we can listen to it right now. And the quote is, Ross, you must be smoking something that's not legal in some states.
No. That's what I mean. I wouldn't have even entertained. If you had said, are the Bengals going to make the playoffs? I would have said you're smoking something. Okay. And I was completely wrong.
Apology accepted.
If I remember correctly, Ross, when you were in Vegas in the start of the football season here, you bet on the Bengals, didn't you?
I did bet on the Bengals. I bet on the Super Bowl. I got 75-1. I bet $20.
Nice.
We'll see if I can win $1,500. I should hedge my bet, but I don't feel like going to Vegas and doing it. So I'll let it ride. We'll see what happens. Of course, you wish you'd bet more, but I got 75-1 on that. And I also bet the Bengals to win over 6.5 games, which I got even money on that. So I did pretty well at the Bengals this year. We'll see. I'm excited about the big games. So we'll talk about more next week. We have another week. So let's talk NBA.
Let's do it.
Big news about the NBA. This is unbelievable. The Nets have lost 6 in a row. They lost to the Sacramento Kings last night. Yeah, the Sacramento Kings. Yeah, that bad of a team. The Nets, I know they don't have Durant, but they must be squirming around. And the Knicks are playing awful too. They lost 7 out of 10. And both New York teams have
don't sound so surprised about that.
Year. Yeah. So, guys, what do you think about the Nets losing 6 in a row?
Listen, to me, it's all chemistry and motivation. It's actually one of the things that I don't love about the current NBA is that a lot of these teams coast when they've got a lot of talent. And then when they get to the playoffs, then they start to play. And there's also a lot of managing injury risk and things like that. And I understand that, but I'd rather be watching a team that's in it in the regular season. The Nets, honestly, they bore me. They truly do. What do you guys think?
Well, I don't know if they bore me, but I'm not a huge fan. I mean, Kevin Durant, to me, top 2-3 player in the NBA, absolutely when healthy. Kyrie Irving, you could be one of the best players in the NBA. He could also, just for personal reasons, take off for half a season and not want to play because maybe he fell off the side of the earth. And then James Harden, I think, got crushed by the changes in the rules this year because they're not allowing for he made most of his living getting to the free throw line, but they changed the foul rules where he can't draw as many fouls with those pump fakes and then jumping into the defender to shoot. And so once that happens, once he lost that ability, he became kind of like Fat Elvis at the end of his career, where I just don't see the same level of impact that he can have on a game. And so that's a lot of money wasted there for 2 players who you're not sure if there's going to play and one who's hurt.
Yeah, Harden had 4 points last night. 4 points.
4 points.
Listen,
points. If one of your main, you go. Go ahead, Ross.
Awkward silence.
I mean, the Nets they have 2 great players. Durant's hurt. The other guys seem like G League players. They seem like guys that are just fill-ins. You can put Dr. Dan Ratner out there, Casey Scheinfeld. You could put myself out there, and it really won't matter that much because who gets the ball is Irving and Harden. I mean, they have a few role players which are fine, but they're not a real team. They're a team of stars, and after the stars is a huge downfall. So I think it's obviously if Durant comes back, they'll be a different team. I get it, but I just don't feel they're the favorites in the East anymore.
I never felt they were because of chemistry issues. And listen, what I was going to say is if one of your top skill sets is jumping into people to draw a foul, that's not a great skill set to have. That rule change hurting Harden, he deserves it. I'm just going to say it. Okay, guys, let's get to it. People came here for the waiver wire. They want to know who to pick up. Remember the rules. It's 60% and under on Yahoo rostership. So we're not going to be recommending guys, like Norman Powell, who's blowing up, but he's 88% owned. I looked it up, but listen, if whatever those 12% are, pick him up. He's exploding.
Okay, I didn't know. Is Luka Doncic still available?
Let me look it up, but I think that he's not.
Okay.
Probably 108% owned.
Okay, got it. I didn't know.
All right, guys, we're going to get to the guards first. Ross, I'm going to start with you. You start us out, but I'm going to say this for the viewers' benefit because I know Ross is bent on this. He's always going to say, I don't want to repeat names. Well, guess what? I'm going to repeat lots of names because if you're still not picking up these players, you need to. We got to get you the players you need for the playoff run. There's only a couple weeks left before the playoffs hit, believe it or not. It goes fast. So look out for the names. Ross, start us off.
I've watched the Denver Nuggets play last week, and they're a good team, and they don't even have their point guard playing right now, Murray. So I like this kid, Monty Morris. I mean, I know we talked about him before, I believe, but he's playing 30 minutes a game. He's averaging the past 2 weeks 13 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He's doing everything he can for the Denver Nuggets and more. And if you need a point guard or guard position, he's a really, really good pickup right now because I don't see Murray coming back anytime soon. But when he does, all bets are off. He'll be playing a lot. So right now, Monty Morris, pick him up, have fun with him.
Yeah, he's putting up great numbers, and he's the great thing about Monty Morris is he's safe too because he's a player who puts up good value anyway. There's no reason to not own this guy right now. He puts up good value anyway with all of those with the setup in Denver right now. He's getting extremely big run. All right, Casey, let's go to you for one.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say him again because he's still at 60%, and that's Patty Mills.
You stole Patty Mills from me.
We just talked about how inefficient Brooklyn is, but Patty Mills happens to be the one player who I think is actually efficient in Brooklyn. But I just had to say him. But there's Gabe Vincent. I know he's on Ross's team, I think, in our league in Miami, the point guard there. He's playing, over 33 minutes a game in the last 2 weeks. And he's putting up pretty good numbers. He doesn't turn the ball over too much. He almost had his career high in assists. I think he had 10 boards, 10 points, 9 assists just last night. So Jimmy Butler gives him a passing option that just makes him pretty valuable.
How dare you steal Patty Mills from me? I can't believe it.
Patty Mills 3-point is like he's in the top 5 in the league. The guy is unbelievable. I mean, it's amazing that he's only 6%. I'm stunned.
Well, I told you should be picking him up. All right. Yes. Now I sound like a guy from the Lucky Charms. Okay. Let's move on from that. Another guy that I think is a great pickup for guard play. I've been saying him all along. I say him all season. I say him every season. Justin Holiday. He was cut in our league, and I got to pick him up. I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, I wish I hadn't cut him. I wish I had listened to myself. And then someone cut him, and I picked him up. Chris Atwater, thank you for releasing him. I'm excited to have him. The great thing about Justin Holiday, of course, we know is usually the steals. The interesting thing is he's not even stealing the ball that much this year, but he is putting up big points. Now, meanwhile, we've got the trade deadline coming up next week. It is a week from today. You should be looking at how things are going to be shifting. And if you've got an Indiana Pacer who's not going to be dealt, their minutes are probably going to go up. Even a guy like Lance Stevenson, I know people are talking about that his numbers could go up because players are going to get dealt out of there. So be looking for that. I think Justin Holiday's role is very safe. He's getting close to 30 minutes a game. He's not even stealing the ball, and he's still putting up numbers. If he starts stealing the ball like he normally does, he's going to be a great, great pickup. Ross, give us another name.
We mentioned before, University of North Carolina, plays for the Bulls. Kobe White. I know he doesn't have the afro anymore. He cut his hair, but he's still playing 30 minutes with their team being healthy. Well, Ball's not in right now, but doesn't matter. Kobe White's getting a lot of playing time. He's scoring points. He's getting assists. He's getting rebounds. He's somebody that's going to be getting playing time. And the Bulls are a really good team. I picked them to win the East this year. So pick up Kobe White. He's going to play a lot. He'll get you what you need, and he's a good role player. Kobe White is my second best pickup this week.
Okay, now let's go back and watch the tape from last week when Ross said, don't pick up Kobe White, when I was saying, you got to get him.
No, I had to watch and analyze the play and see how much. You mentioned the trade deadline, and the trade deadline is coming up. It's next week. A lot of these teams are going to switch their whole roster around, and you'll see a lot of people moving around. I have a list of the top 10 guys I think will be traded away. It's going to affect your teams a lot, and we should talk about it maybe later in the show.
I think that's a good idea. Once we finish guards, get ready, Ross, because I'm coming to you for that. Another guard that I like, Gary Payton Jr., Little Gloves, as we call him here. He does what his dad did, at least with steals. So listen, Gary Payton did a lot of things, so I probably shouldn't say that. But Gary Payton II steals the ball a lot. He's going to put up good numbers in there, and this is one of the reasons that I like him. However, little caveat here. His ranking, let's say over the last 14 days, he ranks 50th overall. He's a guard that's shooting 61%. That's not going to keep up. He's a good role player to have. Don't get fooled into thinking you got total fantasy gold there. You have to look at the numbers and see, how are we analyzing this? How does it make sense? Shooting 61% from the guard position, that's not going to keep up. Do you guys agree?
Well, I don't think there's been many guards who finished the season at 60% shooting, so I think it's a pretty safe bet that there's going to be some negative regression there.
Yeah, but I didn't mean just the shooting percentage. I meant in terms of looking at the stats in general. You got to know which ones are soft and which ones are going to hold together.
Yeah, the question with him is how much playing time will he get? I mean, right now they're trying to rest Steph Curry a lot more near the end of the season, so he's fresh for the playoffs. You know they're not going to push Clay too hard in his first season back in two seasons. So there's going to be a lot of minutes for him, and on that kind of offense, they put up a lot of points. So, I mean, if he's getting 25 minutes a game pretty consistently, I think he actually becomes a fringe sort of player to keep at the back end of your roster full time.
I agree. I mean, I don't want to oversell that the shooting percentage is, not going to stay where it is, because that's the case. But he's still going to maintain his good value, especially if he needs steals. Remember, I say this all the time. When you get to Thursday and you look at your matchups, look at the stats you need. Pick up the players that give you the stats you need for that matchup. I've seen it many times. Teams winning 5-4 over a team that is genuinely a better overall team, but they didn't understand the numbers. This is a numbers game here. Okay, Ross, anybody we've missed at guard before we move on?
He's a forward too. I'll just say him as a guard is Garrison Matthews of Houston. Houston's going to do a lot of trades. They're going to trade away a couple of their starters next week. Garrison Matthews comes off the bench, plays around 25, 30 minutes a game. He's been averaging 13 points a game right now the past 2 weeks. His role is going to go up a lot after the trade deadline. He's going to be a starter. He's playing. The coach loves him. He's playing great ball the past couple of weeks. If you need a guy at the guard, and I believe he's a small forward also, he's a good pickup right now because when the trade deadline ends, he should be over 60%.
All right, I like it. Case, anybody to add? I do have one guy, but I'll let you go first.
Well, I mean, he's a streaky player, but with the way the Lakers are right now, Malik Monk is getting plenty of opportunities to play there, and he has some really good games, but you got to be prepared for some stinkers. I think he was just 2 for 11 either last night or the night before. So he's somebody you can consider. He's a top 100 player in 9 category leagues so far this year, which if you're in a 10-team league, that's actually somebody who should be on your roster. But you got to deal with kind of the instability or the lack of consistency in his performance.
But I love the point you made there. Listen, a lot of this game really is about the math. If you're ranked top 100 and you got 10 teams and you got 12 to 15 roster spots, somebody who's in the top 100 should be owned. It's simply math. He's got the value there. Now, are they a good fit for your team? You're gonna have to kind of cue that up. So as an example, Duncan Robinson, he's the other guy I wanted to mention. He is 99th ranked overall over the last 14 days. You guys who watch know that I tend to look at the 14-day mark as a kind of good, even keel way of looking at it. If you need threes and points, he's a really great pickup right now. And his value is still really good. If you don't need those things, sure, maybe you can let him go. Should he be owned in 10-team leagues? Probably. In 12-team leagues? Definitely. Absolutely. Okay, we are going to move on to the forwards as soon as we get to Ross's trade list. I'm really interested in this, Ross. You take it away here with the guys that you can see are likely to be traded.
So, I know you guys watch Sports Center. I know it's always mentioned almost every night for the past week is Ben Simmons. Is he being traded? Is he going to sit out the rest of the season? These are predictions. I say he's not going to be traded. The Sixers are crazy. They want like 3 first-round picks for him. No one's going to give that. And the guy's like, you guys are doctors. This guy's a head case. I mean, there's something wrong with him. I mean, he shows up to the Sixers camp, looks at film and does a shoot around, then he goes home. What kind of team player is that? So Ben Simmons, I don't see him going anywhere. I see him staying home. I see him not playing this year. It's a shame. Big talent. He's Australian. I don't get it. But again, he probably has some mental issues. So I give him a little break right there. But long story short, drop him. He's not going to be playing this year. That's Ross the Boss talking. Jamiri Grant, he's the forward from Detroit. He just been activated last week. Detroit's trying to trade him. They want a first-round pick for him. He does not want to play for the Lakers. Talking about the Lakers, the last year's guard, Dennis Schroeder of the Celtics. The Celtics want to dump him too because of salary. He makes $5 million a year. The Celtics want to dump him also. Eric Gordon of Houston. I talked about Houston players being gone. He's one of them. Eric Gordon could be his son. The Suns are talking to him. The Suns, 11 in a row. They're playing unbelievable. C.J. McCollum of Portland. Big talks of him leaving. They want a lot for him. We'll see if he leaves. That'd be big trade news, as we know. Also, who else? Spencer Dinwiddie of Washington. All the players in Washington hate him. They all want him gone. They can't stand this guy. And I never heard any players all being vocal saying they want the guy off the team. So I think Washington's showcasing right now. He'll be traded. The rumor is maybe the Clippers. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm hoping the Clippers do get him. They need some spark. They have nobody. And then, and also, I'm looking at my list right here. I'm saying who else is Jalen Brunson is the point guard of Dallas. He's going to be traded too. They're talking about the Clippers might trade for him also. And the Clippers are anybody on the Clipper roster is available. So the Clippers made that public yesterday. So I'm trying to tell you guys, there's going to be a lot of trades. A lot of stuff's going to happen. Harrison Barnes will probably go to Utah. I heard that also. So just beware. Know your roster. When all this stuff happens, make sure you use the waiver wire. Pick up players that you know are going to get starting jobs. So good luck to everybody. It's next week.
Okay, now that's a great list, Ross. I just want to make the point, and you were basically making this point, but I just want to add to it, that when you think about these moves, you have to understand how they're going to adjust, especially for the minutes. So, just hearing somebody's going to be on the move doesn't mean their value is going to go up.
Not at all. Sometimes, like Harrison Barnes could be a coming off the bench.
Right, exactly. And
that's a great example. Like at Sacramento, like he's the man. But if he comes to Utah, I don't know if he'll start over O'Neal. He might just come off the bench. I don't know.
No, see, I think the players that are on the move are more likely to decrease in value. It's the players who are left behind that are likely to increase in value. So understand the team dynamics here.
And also another big name that might be traded is Sabonis on Indiana. Indiana wants to get a first-round pick for him. So
that would be
these are big names, guys. There's going to be a lot of trades going on. And on Thursday and Wednesday, make sure you have your phone on and you know what's going on with the trades because it's going to affect your team. Every team's going to be affected fantasy-wise. Every team.
And let me say this. Next week, we come on 4:45 p.m. Eastern, 1:45 p.m. Pacific. It will be right around the time of the trade deadline.
And Casey Scheinfeld's going to have a whole list of all the trades. He'll update us.
We're going to go through it all, and we're going to talk about the implications of it.
Casey's going to do that for us, so I'm excited.
Taking notes.
He will. All right. He's good.
Now, we're going to move on to forwards, but first, I'm going to go to our sponsor. Kill Cliff has a new drink available now, the High Octane Killer Cliffsicle. That's high caffeine and high CBD, clean energy, B vitamins, electrolytes, and zero sugar. It's the biggest no-brainer in the history of drinks. Own it. Go to killcliff.com. All right, guys, forwards. I'm going to start with you, Casey, since I started with Ross, and I never feel comfortable starting with myself. That's selfish. Come on. I'm a therapist. I can't do that.
I get it. Okay, I'm going to name somebody I've named before because he's still only 57% owned, and he's a top 50 player on the season. And that's Herbert Jones, the rookie in New Orleans. Not Howard Jones, who is
no one is to blame.
Singer-songwriter from the 80s.
Not Herbert Davis.
If you confuse those, don't worry, no one is to blame. Got it?
That's right.
Herbert
you
Jones.
Got everlasting love for that. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Well done. He elite steal rate, solid numbers across the board, and he's one of those guys who, when you're referencing the trade deadline, New Orleans is not good this year, so they're going to move as many pieces as they can. They're not going to move a rookie who's doing well that they have for inexpensive. So he might actually become an even more featured player in their offense after the trade deadline. So it's somebody who I would want to own going forward with the goal that his value will actually increase throughout the season.
That's a great point. And I actually feel the same way about one of my forward pickups, Chuma Okiki. We've talked about him before.
Chuma Okiki.
Chuma Okiki. It's such a fun name to say.
It's a great name. Unbelievable.
But in the last 14 days, he's the 22nd ranked player overall. He's 48% rostered. He's averaging 25 minutes a game in that time, but he's just putting up some great numbers across the board. And I don't see any numbers that I'm seeing that I'm like, that's not going to last. So I think he is a great pickup. And I'll turn it over to you, Ross. We've each named one. Your turn.
So LeBron James, he's not playing for the next probably 10 days. It's hurt, sitting on the bench. So the Lakers they have Davis back. They have Westbrook, excuse me. That got we call him Westbrook here.
You mispronounced it the first time.
I know, it's Westbrook. So long story short, Carmelo Anthony, same draft class as LeBron. I don't know if you guys knew that. University of Syracuse.
I knew.
Yeah. So he's been
Who was
taking
the number 2 pick that year? Anybody?
Yeah,
Darko Milicic.
Nice.
And he's also the only NBA player to have 4 gold medals in the Olympics. I don't know if you guys know, 4 gold medals. He is playing a lot in LA. He's scoring over the past 2 weeks, over 15 points a game. He's been getting rebounds. He hits threes. He's been playing defense. He is really playing well. And I don't know what's going to happen when LeBron comes back, but when LeBron's gone, he is taking a bigger role. And right now it's a great time to pick him up.
This is one of those things about fantasy basketball too. You know, team basketball doesn't matter that much when it comes to fantasy basketball. And I'm not saying Carmelo is not a good teammate, because I actually think in many ways he's really started to fit in a lot more, and he has been a great teammate at various points. But he's gonna put the ball up a lot. Meanwhile, really interesting, he is just killing it from the free throw line. So again, look at the stats you need. I mean, the guy in the last 14 days, he's shooting almost 95% from the line, and he's shot almost 20 free throws. So this is a big deal. It can alter the balance of a matchup. So I think that's a great pick. Looking at my list, another guy that jumps out at me is Kevon Looney. This guy is a rebounding beast. Again, look at your stats. Look at what you need. He's also great with field goal percentage. Unlike Gary Payton II, he is shooting a pretty similar rate, but it's probably going to keep up. He's shooting 62.5% from the field over the last 2 weeks. I think that's going to keep up because, you know, he's an interior player. He's getting tons of rebounds, very high percentage shots. He's a guy that I would like to have on my team, and that is why I do have him on my team. All right, Casey, how about you?
I'm going to say Cam Johnson again in Phoenix. He's still only 52% owned. He's a threes, points, and steals guy who shoots good percentages. He's not going to wow you with rebounds or assists, but he's not going to hurt you there either. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's just a solid player. On the season, he's the 70th ranked player in Yahoo. So he's dropped off a little bit. I think he was in the 40s when we talked about him a few weeks ago. So, but even with that, he's still in the last 2 weeks ranked in the top 50 in fantasy basketball. So
okay, now
I don't know why he's less than 60% owned.
I know it's kind of strange, but I'm going to say something that could sound like it's contradicting myself, but it's actually just I think a nuance. But the whole thing about these rankings, you can look at a guy and he could be ranked 70th overall, and if you look at him, maybe in the last 30 days he ranks like 220th. So don't get too thrown off by the season numbers. I really think you got to keep up on how it's changing. I look at the season numbers. I look at the last 30 days. I look at the last 14 as well. If I'm evaluating a player and whether I'm going to pick them up, it's do they have the stats I need? Are they playing well now? And are they likely to keep it up? The thing I like about Cam Johnson, not only are his numbers looking pretty good, but he also plays alongside some guys who are often getting injured, especially Jay Crowder. I've been holding on to Jay Crowder for a while. He puts up good value when he's in.
He's back. He played a couple nights ago.
I know, but he's just constantly on and off.
You're right, but the Suns are best record in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
They've won 11 in a row, I believe. They have nobody starting in the All-Star game, which is a shame. And I have Chris Paul as one of my MVP candidates going into the second half of the season. I think it's between him, Joel Embiid, and Jay Morant. Those guys, all three of those guys can win MVP this year, but I really love Chris Paul, as you guys know.
Okay, actually, I'm just going to say all three of them cannot win MVP. There will only be one. I'm just kidding.
I know what you right now is the odds on. Morant is 2, Paul is 3.
No, I think those are good picks, and I've been all over the Chris Paul train the last couple of seasons because everybody's saying, "Oh, he's old." He's still doing it.
He's the best. It's the best point guard I think in the league. Just to run an offense. I know Curry's a great shooter. I don't want to get anybody upset, but if I had to get a floor general out there, it would be Chris Paul.
From a floor general standpoint, to me, there's no question. I can't think of anybody that I'd rather choose in today's NBA. Okay, another guy that I like and often talk about, Maxi Cleaver. Cleaver, he's another guy who's benefiting from some guys being out, but don't get too worried about that. A lot of times people are like, well, when these players come back, Maxi Cleaver's not going to have a role. Guess what? Other guys are going to get dinged up. Don't worry about the injuries. If they're putting up good numbers in the times that they play and they're getting, I'd say, over 20 minutes a game at least, and their numbers are looking good from a Yahoo standpoint, just to measure it, pick him up. Maxi Cleaver, I always say this, he hits 3-pointers and gets blocks. His shooting percentages are good for both. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's a great pickup. The funny thing is, I keep almost picking him up, and his schedule never works for my team. I'm like, you play in all the same games that my player, so then I let him go. I admit he's not like a must own, but he's a great own to have.
Yeah.
So I recommend him to you fairly highly. How's that for kind of wishy-washy? Sorry about that. All right. Any other forwards before we move on, guys?
Amir Coffee, we talked about him a million times. I know Case likes him. 15 points the past 2 weeks, average, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. The Clippers are going to put some players on the move. They're going to make some moves before the deadline. I don't see Coffee going anywhere. He's averaging over 30 minutes a game right now the past 2 weeks. I like the pickup if you need a forward to start. I know there's a lot of injuries, people getting COVID, people hurting ankles, and all this stuff is going on in the NBA. So if you need a forward, Coffee is not a bad pickup.
All right, and meanwhile, Ross, you've been mentioning Trey Lyles a lot, so I'll take him.
He's a center. I haven't been center this week.
You haven't said, well, I mean, he's a power forward center, so you can mention either one. But actually, you make a good point. We shouldn't bring anybody who has a center designation into the forward picture.
I try to stay away.
It's
it's tough with centers. But
all right, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on your toes.
But Max Kluber is a good example. He's a center also, but it's fine.
It's true. All right, I completely blew that.
That's okay.
Now,
it's okay. It's all good.
All right, now we're going to move on to centers. Let's do it.
I just want to say in center position, there's this guy in our league that picked up Whiteside, and I've been talking about him, and somehow he snaked around and picked him up before I had a chance to do it, and I'm really upset about it, and I want to talk to you guys about it. I talk about Hussein Whiteside the past couple weeks because, Gobert's not playing. He's hurt, and Whiteside's averaging double-doubles right now. He's unbelievable, and blocks.
It's true.
He's playing great. But what do you guys think about Whiteside's still under 60%? That's the reason I brought him up.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm the guy who picked him up.
What? I can't believe that.
Hold on, Ross. If you check the league page, I actually cut him about 40 minutes ago. Okay? And part of it's because his free throw percentage is like 40%. And I'm tired of that. He's completely brought me down in that one category. I also I added a player that we actually didn't mention in the guards.
Okay.
So, but I see his numbers going up, and I'm excited to check him out. It's Davion Mitchell. I should have said him in the guards. He's on Sacramento with all the players changing. And the reason I picked him up is this. My team needs points. You know, a lot of teams overvalue points. I don't fall into that trap, and sometimes that means I'm going to end up needing points. So,
and the great thing about him is Casey and I were in this tournament with the March Madness last year. We both picked Baylor, and the reason Baylor won is because of Mitchell, right, Case?
Yep, absolutely.
I came in first. Casey came in second. It was unbelievable.
Guess what second place wins?
What?
No.
Oh.
Is that right? I thought it was like.
I thought it was a few bucks, but it doesn't matter.
Something.
We all had fun.
At least you get pride.
That's right.
Meanwhile, I mean, that just whet my appetite. I just realized, whoa, we're getting close to all the fun
away.
Stuff. Oh boy. All right. Let's get back to centers because people are looking for pickups. It's funny. I really did blow centers this time because
you
Kevon
did.
Looney,
all three of mine are power forward centers that you've named. Looney.
Yeah, Kevon Looney was another guy. But I will mention Onyeka Okongwu. We've talked about him before, the Atlanta power forward and center. He's ranked 82nd over the last 30 days, shooting 72% from the field. His free throw percentage is not great, but it's 66%. It's passable enough. And you're obviously not going to get threes from him, but you're going to get a lot of rebounds and 21 blocks in the last 30 days. He's a great own to have. Case, who else do you have?
The only other one, and you might have mentioned him in the forwards. I was lost in my own anger at you when you were naming Looney and Cleaver. But PJ Tucker in Miami also qualifies at center. He doesn't do anything great, but what he does is he gets over a steal a game. So he gives you some defensive numbers there that can really be helpful out of that center position. He shoots 53%. He actually is shooting in the last 2 weeks 87% from the free throw line too. So you talked about Hussein Whiteside being droppable because his free throw percentage is bad. PJ Tucker can actually help your free throw percentage if he's shooting 87%. So that's the only other guy I noticed on the less than 60% who I really would recommend.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry I did a number on the centers, guys. Ross, who do you have? Who do you have to add?
You mentioned Trey Lyles. I just want to make sure everybody knows we like Trey Lyles. He's been averaging 14 points and 4 rebounds the past 2 weeks. He plays in Detroit, and Detroit's going to make a lot of moves. I believe they're going to prepare for the future, which they say every year anyway. It doesn't matter. But I don't see Trey Lyles going anywhere. They like him a lot in Detroit. He'll get more playing time, especially if Grant gets traded away. So Lyles, try to pick him up, even he's center. I like Clippers. I'm going to say Marcus Morris Sr., he's gets a lot of playing time. He's been averaging 10 points a game. He gets 5 rebounds a game the past 2 weeks. I know he was hurt. He came back. I think he came back last week or the week before. But he is not going to be traded. I hope not. But as soon as everything settles down in Clipperville, I think he'll get a lot of playing time, and we'll see his numbers go up a lot.
Okay, and now I feel like I'm obligated to say this. We say it almost every week. There's the whole LaMarcus Aldridge, Claxton, the whole Brooklyn situation in the front court. It's a mess, but having a piece of it is not a bad idea.
Aldridge is hurt. Just beware. There's an injury sign next to his name right now.
Yes.
So beware. I love Claxton. I mean, he doesn't really play that much, but when he's in, he's like instant offense.
He had a great game last night.
This guy can jump out of the stadium. He's great. They just don't give him playing time. I love that kid.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I think he's a great pickup, and I also think Aldridge is likely to stay dinged up. So I could see owning both. I have Aldridge on my team. But Claxton is a really good backup guy to have who's probably going to put up some decent value. All right, guys, anybody else to add? I know we mentioned Hussein Whiteside.
I don't want to add anybody, but if you want to pick somebody up cheap right now, I think the owners are kind of frustrated, is James Harden. Harden's numbers are way down. He's not the same player from last year, but I think he's going to pick it up as soon as Durant comes back. I think his numbers will get better, obviously, because you have another superstar on the team. It's a good time right now to make some trade offers for James Harden. That's what I'm going to do as soon as I'm done with you guys.
All right. I like it. I wish I owned him. But, I do want to say this is also the time of the season, not just for the NBA trade deadline. Understand when your league trade deadline is, because what Ross is saying is completely true. You've got to look at players who are undervalued right now. There are too many fantasy players. They get really zeroed in on their team, and that's really all they're paying attention to, and they don't notice what's happening. I'm guilty of it too sometimes. I hear about a player, and I'm like, oh, what's going on with them? What? They ranked like 10th overall? What's happening here?
Do you know Chris Paul is like number 5 overall in fantasy basketball this season right now?
It doesn't
number
surprise
5.
me. But do you know
how? You want to know why I know that?
Why?
Because I own him.
Okay, listen.
And he's ranked number 3 overall, by the way.
Okay, but not only that, if you look at the numbers, I believe Chris Paul has been, I'm pretty sure, a top 15 player like 3 out of the last 4 years. It's insane.
And do you know how much money he spends on his body to keep it in shape and on food and trainers?
More than I do?
$1 million a year. LeBron spends $1.5 million. That's $1 million more than I spend on my body, which is unbelievable. So there you go.
Yeah, that's putting your money where your mouth is. Literally. Well, guys,
this is a year on chefs and food and trainers and who knows what else. But it's a good investment. So Casey, I suggest maybe you should call Chris and see who he uses and start doing the same thing. Yep.
All right. Well, that was a surprise note to end on, Casey's exercise routine. But we look forward to joining you again next week for more names to pick up. And, of course, it will be the trade deadline. So we're going to talk about how everything's shifting. Tune in Thursdays, 4:45 p.m. Eastern, 1:45 p.m. Pacific. Thank you for joining us.
Ever since I've been doing these commercials for Killcliff, my Tinder account has been blowing up, dog. Ooh, who's this horny young fella sliding into Granny's DMs? Mr. Castlemaster. How about that? Killcliff Octane CBD. The Killer Cliffsicle. All the benefits of caffeine smooth over with CBD. Own it.